All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our next edition of the Gargoyles podcast. I'm Lisa, known as Talia Levid, and I'm joined by Karel. She's known as Kodalea.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Karel.
Hello.
And we're also joined by our two favorite Mikes. We have Mike Rieger, known as Hawkstone, and we have Michael McAdam, known as Riverdale. Welcome, guys.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
We decided to put our webcams on today to show you a little bit of our antics. The last time we had these two lovely gentlemen on the show, they were hilarious, and we realized you guys couldn't see, but we could, so I'm sure there was a lot of laughter, and you guys didn't understand why.
That's why the previous podcast was terrible.
No.
Never listen to it again.
So we're here to rectify that. We're also planning to talk about Deadly Force, but we also want to catch up with Mike and Michael. They've been very, very busy. So yeah, they'll tell you they're not, but they are. All right. So to begin, should we do our trivia?
Yeah.
We got our trivia. What do we decide is our second question then?
I never know these whenever you do them. You always ask the question like, am I watching the wrong cartoon?
It's kind of embarrassing to be like, I'm pretty sure I'm a Gargoyles fan. I've never heard of any of these things ever.
I think I fail at this somehow.
Some of them I know, and I'll be honest, a lot of them we get like from the Garg Wiki as we're doing it, but yeah,
wow.
so wiki, yeah. So, all right, so the first one's about the, what?
They read it from a card.
We do. We read some of it from a card. The first one's going to be about the Maza family. What did we decide for the second one, Karel?
Oh, yeah, we were going with Dr. Sato.
Okay, his first name?
Hmm?
Okay. Sounds good. All right, I got that one pulled up. All right, so to begin, we're going to start with our trivia. The first question is, what are the names of the 5 members of the Maza family?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Buttercup, Steve, and Lightning Panther.
Yeah, 5.
Oh,
You
the
missed
names
2.
they already have. I thought you meant name them. Okay, I'm gonna have to stay with Lightning Panther.
I like
one of
the
them's Tito. I'm pretty sure Tito is one of them.
Jermaine.
Toya.
Yeah.
Okay, so
All
that
right.
was an easy question, which I don't know. What's the hard one?
The hard one? Okay. So the hard question is, Dr. Sato makes his first appearance in this episode. There is a canon and training first name that Dr. Sato actually has. And it was revealed at the 2007 Gathering of the Gargoyles convention. What is Dr. Sato's full name?
I don't know.
Yogi Sato.
Which one's Dr. Sato? Is it the cat? I think it was the cat. It's the cat.
Yeah, that would
We've
be
already
a
decided
funny
that
cat
the cat
name.
is pretty lazy, so...
Hello,
The
Dr.
cat-
Sato.
Yeah, I really, you know what? I really hope Greg Wiseman actually isn't listening, because I feel like I've let him down as a fan if I don't immediately answer everything. It feels like,
Greg,
oh,
turn the
well, I guess
podcast off
you're
now.
not a fan then. Is there a word? Is there a word for feeling like fake nerd? You know, like that fake nerd. Right now.
Are you saying you're
You
a
mean
first?
imposter?
Can we make up a word? Let's make up a word.
Gargoyles imposter.
You are
That's fake
GI,
guard.
Michael.
This is fake
Yeah.
Garg. You're fake Garg.
Fake nerd.
I'm fake guard.
It's tremendous.
Michael
All
McAdam.
been a lie.
Michael McAdam, the original GI, Gargoyles imposter.
GI.
That's a nice ring.
Mm-mm.
That's like
Mike doesn't think so. I see that face.
gastrointestinal is just all.
That's what I went to. I went straight up. What, my GI tract? What? So you're calling me poop? All right.
Let's put a cold in that and move on.
Oh, you didn't. You did
I
not.
did.
joke. Oh my god. Awesome.
That's punctuation humor, baby.
Yeah. Verb, that's what's happening. Sorry, we've already hijacked. I'm sorry, but please, let's continue.
I was wondering when the wheels would fall off this one, and 2 minutes. 2 minutes and 20
It
seconds.
fell
Well
off
done.
before Michael showed up. We were already gone in the chat, so
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good.
yeah. We were talking about how Cagney has opposable thumbs, but we'll get to that. Yeah, we were talking about all kinds of things. Yeah. All right,
30% of it was pants.
and pants. We talked about pants.
Yay, pants.
Oh, Deadly Force.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Deadly
Deadly
Force.
Force.
Movie Deadly Force.
Episode.
Let's segue from pants to deadly force. All right.
None of us saw it, so fill in your own commentary about Deadly Force at this point.
Actually, I
fast forward a little.
there's one thing actually about that episode that has always bothered me, and I don't know if you guys want to do a brief synopsis of the episode before we get into the deconstruction of it, but it's my thing that I want to bring forward about this episode, that it burns me. It burns me in my brain, and I can't let it go. But if you want to talk about the episode in broader strokes first, we could do that, or we could just jump right in with my brain burning.
I don't want your brain to burn, so go ahead.
Okay. So, the pivotal scene where Broadway is in Elisa's apartment. Okay? And she's going to cook him a steak. And by the way, he's the worst house guest ever. he picks up like a portrait of her family.
Yeah.
And throws it
Yes.
on the floor. Like,
On the floor.
smash. Like, are you like you're not even, are you house trained? Like, crying out loud. Now, here's the thing. He shoots her. Oh my God. And then
That's pretty
he
bad.
takes her to the hospital, okay? Emergency. He's not thinking clearly, but here's the thing.
I know
She
where this
doesn't
is
have an
leading.
apartment anymore.
Yeah, no, right?
No, that's
No, my
what
wife
we
said
were
the same
talking
thing.
Yeah,
about.
we were talking about
Yeah,
that
We
later.
were
yeah,
talking
earlier.
about this. Cagney's
Yeah.
the one who turned off the stove. We're convinced. It
Oh,
had
because
to
of her
be
opposable
Cagney.
thumb?
Yeah, the opposable thumbs.
Here's
It
what
has
I
to
think
be.
happened.
What?
The steak burned, smoke alarms went off, fire alarm went off, and maybe the landlord was called to come into her apartment because of all the smoke coming through the door, and managed to turn off the stove. So I'm sure there's smoke and stuff in her apartment, but the whole building didn't burn down because
Right.
I'm sure the landlord was called. But seriously, that's what I was thinking. He's taking her to the hospital, and as a fan, I'm like, good, please save her. But even as he's perched on the windowsill, I'm like, wait, turn off the stove.
No, Cagney's got it covered. We talked about this.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's
What I
all
was
Cagney.
thinking was, you're frying a steak. Use a grill, woman. Deserve
I
to
know.
get shot.
No, it's a New York thing. It's probably New York strip steak. Like,
Oh my God.
being
No.
from Alberta,
Oh.
like, I'm kind of a steak purist. But yeah, like, no.
Maybe Maybe Goliath visited her after everyone had left. He totally ignored the blood on the floor, but he turned off the stove. Maybe.
If you were a good boyfriend, the kitchen, washed the smoke stains out of the walls, and tidied up a little bit. And he made her a casserole.
And he
Yeah.
made Broadway pick the picture back up and put it back where it was.
Oh, right.
Let that be a lesson to you, fatso.
You picture vandal.
Also, don't visit without calling. Not an animal.
They don't have cell phones. That kind of wasn't a thing in the 90s.
Just shout
Not
from a
yet.
distance.
Oh, yeah. He could have been like, Elisa, are you home?
Your pictures I can drop.
You have pants on?
Are you decent?
That would be a legit question.
Well, and also, right, she has this convenient apartment with basically a skylight, basically, which, by the way, New York cop's salary, pretty nice apartment.
Yeah.
But if the Gargoyles were my friends, I would just always assume that I had no privacy. Like, I would never, ever not have clothes on because who's going to drop in next? And I'll be like, oh, in my undershirt and boxer briefs, like with ice cream, like, oh, hello. You want some ice cream? I'll get pants on. Like, no.
Well, they wear loincloths. Maybe she just doesn't care.
She doesn't care about that, but I'm saying about her, though.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, hello, alien being from centuries ago. Yes, I'm in my nightgown. By all means, pop on in. It's good.
Maybe she does during the day when they're not around.
Yeah, gargoyles.
There you go. That's right. The daytime is the one time she's fairly certain no one's going to be watching through her balcony window. Good call.
Because if they're getting up there in the daytime, they have a helicopter, and she'd hear that, right?
Good point. Yep.
Yeah. So during the day, clothes off. At night, nope. How about that?
I like it.
I think we've covered the important parts of the episode now.
I think so.
Definitely.
And
Great,
that was
good
Deadly
podcast.
Force, guys. Yeah, great job.
But seriously, though, one of the things I just loved about this episode is it did not shy away from the idea of a gun in the home, which is a very common thing in the United States, right? And it was,
Not ours,
as far as
but
that's concerned,
yeah.
it was pretty much a Sesame Street episode of this is how to play safe, kids,
Mhm.
but without talking down, it was just saying it does not matter, who you are or what you like. Accidents can still happen,
Right.
and you have to deal with it. And sometimes those consequences can be, quite dangerous, quite severe.
Well, that was my thing with this episode, though, is that Broadway really likes movies and decides to become a projectionist. He makes a mistake and blames everyone else for it for a solid 10 minutes. Destroys all guns everywhere, pins the crime on a young entrepreneur who's minding his own business, and refuses to take
Michael looks
responsibility
so
until the very end. Poor Dracon. He's just trying to make a buck, right?
Poor
All of a sudden he gets
Dracon.
framed with a cop shooting. He didn't do it. Poor guy's hair goes white after this episode.
You're right. He's so
Sad
innocent.
Thanks to Carell, though, we did decide Dracon's new name is Monobrow Dracon.
Mm-hmm.
That's hot.
Okay, Tony the Brow.
Tony the Brow. My friend, Mickey Donuts, they call me Tony the Brow. Yeah.
I'm Caterpillar Anthony. Goes right across.
Look, I can make it wiggle. Look. I've just now forgotten his voice, but he's not Italian in the show, is he? He doesn't do that accent.
No, he doesn't. He's
Dracon is
very, very regular voice.
Well, unfortunately now in my head, he's Caterpillar Tony. He got things to say. That's what's going to happen,
Why didn't they get Tony?
Dude, he's gonna
Why
puke
didn't they get
He's gonna
Tony
come back
Dan
for-
to do that voice? That would have been amazing.
To
Like
get who
Tony
to do
Dan-
that voice?
Tony
Oh,
Danza.
Tony Danza.
Wouldn't that have been
Oh,
hilarious?
Who's the boss?
Right?
It's me.
Right?
Hold me closer, Tony Danza. Sorry, I have song Tourette's. It's a real thing. Triggered. Hashtag triggered.
He's on shuffle, everyone.
Every day I'm shuffling. Boop, 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 boop. No, stop it. Oh, don't trigger me.
But going back to what you said, I agree with that about how they brought up very real issues, but I'm reining it in. But they bring up very real issues, and they don't treat you like you're not capable of handling the messages, and they really bring it. Oh, look, we do have a puppy.
I'm sorry, I'm trying not to interrupt. Continue your thoughts.
For those of you at home, Mike's pit bull Pepper is mauling and molesting him, trying to get on his lap and not understanding why she can't.
Downstairs and play with your ponies.
We'll do the pony
She's like,
podcast later. Yeah.
Why am I not able to absorb all the space? But no, you're right, Lisa. And that's something that Gargoyles did all the time. Gargoyles never talked down, never dumbed it down.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Guess what? Everybody had no problem with that. Everybody followed it. Everybody understood. From younger viewers to older viewers, everybody was like, no, this is a good episode, and I'm following it.
Except when Toon Disney didn't air it for the longest time.
That's true.
Oh,
And then they chopped it up so badly it may as well have been something different.
I know.
Yeah, they took the blood
must
out,
say,
right?
Yeah, they took the blood out. Yep.
I just
Yeah, this
fail
was-
to understand, where the line is when people, censors, producers, whoever it is, draws that line. I feel like they're just taking a big old bucket of whiteout and just not looking at the story, but just going, lose that, and that, and then now publish it again, broadcast it again, without
Right.
realizing how choppy the story looks now.
Right.
Yeah. One of my favorite early cartoons was actually an anime. In Japan, it was called Gatchaman, and here it was called Battle of the Planets. This is like in the 70s.
Okay.
Well, of course, it was quite violent at the time, and so they chopped out so much of it. They had to create new animation, like in the form of a new character, a dumb robot called Seven Zark 7, just to bridge the gaps in the story, because
wow.
North America had chopped it apart so badly.
So much.
So when Gargoyles, when the Toon Disney guys did that, I wanted to say, are you not aware of how stories work? I mean, I get that you're trying to go, oh no, blood, but these days, I kind of want to say, are you not aware that the internet exists and that it's very, very unlikely that children have not seen cartoon blood?
Right. Right.
But, I'm not a producer or a censor, so I don't know what they see when they do this stuff, but it bugs me.
Yeah. No, and I agree. And that was one of the things they did, of course, take out. This was the second episode of Gargoyles that actually showed blood, and Toon Disney edited it out. But in the original showing, of course, Broadway, there's blood on the floor, and then Broadway ends up with blood on his hands later. And they took both of those scenes out.
And yet, especially the blood on the hands, it's important because, for Broadway especially, it's blood on his hands. It drives home the fact that, no, you did this. It's you. You're responsible. It's actually a major visual.
It is. Yeah, it actually takes away from the impact of the episode. It doesn't really register quite as well why he feels so guilty. I mean, it's not just a cartoon scene where a character gets knocked down and they're up the next minute, I mean, she's laying in the floor. She's barely able to close her eyes when he brings her to the hospital. She doesn't have a pulse. He really has that true moment of guilt. So it does take away from the visual impact of it.
The first thing Hudson says in the episode is that we can't believe what we see on movies and TV, which is good advice coming from a cartoon half lizard man. Good points there, Hudson. And I think that's important to bring the realism home that, yes, these are tailed men, but these real things have consequences, kids, and don't make sure to aim when you're holding your friend's gun.
Don't just jump around the living room.
Was that not the message? I thought aim was the message.
I feel like some of the message may have been lost.
Aim the legs.
I'm not an American, so I'm not familiar with guns.
So it's just my problem.
Well, me neither. It's a very American episode for us. Like, we don't have guns at home. This seems like what? So it's a very, very strange episode. Even if we are used to all these things and everything, but it's so far away from us. Well,
and oh, go ahead.
Ooh.
Well, I was going to say, in the culture, like you're over in Belgium, yes, in Europe. So, but watching that episode, did the culture seem alien to you, or did you understand? Oh, okay, yes, Americans and guns. Like you understood how common it was, or was it a shock to you?
I think it depends on at what age I watched the episode, of course, because I don't have the same lecture. But maybe when I was younger, I was really I saw the horror of the scene, you see. But I didn't linked it to to the gun and everything and everything that is happening in America with the gun control and everything. But now, of course, I think and I analyze it with another lecture grid, because I'm not like 13 or 14 anymore, so I can like analyze it with another grid. So yeah.
Well, and in contrast, growing up in America, I was 12 or 13 when this episode aired, and gun violence wasn't as prevalent. I mean, it was obviously there. There were people who did have the accidental shootings. There were serial killers. There were, things that happened, but it wasn't as commonplace as it's become. So I remember, even watching this episode, and you kind of knew what was going to happen, just because America does have very loose gun laws. And so
also, it's not called cuddly force. Like,
that's true. That's true. It's not called let's hug and make up. And so I remember watching it, and it really was the most horrifying thing, because it's so real, and it's so real even to where I was living. She easily could have died, and of course the show wouldn't be much if she had. Right. Yeah. But it really did bring home how quick that can happen. And how even something so innocent as looking at a gun can have such major consequences to it. On that note, I always grew up in a home without guns. There's no guns in my home currently, but I grew up in an area where there was hunting, there were police, there were people who just owned guns, and it was amazing if I'd go to my friends' houses and there they are. They're just out. So it really does show you how irresponsible.
Like you would visit, and so you had access, theoretically speaking, to guns at that age. At your younger age.
Oh yeah, I mean, they'd set it like.
No, that's amazing to us.
On
I've never seen a handgun.
But
like literally, I've not.
Oh really?
Seen one. Yeah.
Okay.
We
Well,
don't
I'm not
have
gonna.
that here.
I'm not gonna act like I'm an expert. I don't know much about them at all. But I mean, they'd be out, or like my biological father was a police officer, and when we'd go visit him, like his police gun was pretty much the way Elisa did it. He just hung it up by the door. But
really, wow.
Yeah.
Because Elisa lives alone with her cat, so that's okay in her case. But
we only went out in the summer for a couple of weeks, so granted, he probably was not used to kids, but that's what needs to be taken into consideration. Yeah. Like, you're not used to children in your home. Here's your weapon. It's. And I really.
Daddy's gun. Your gun's over there, kids.
But I mean that. And that's what you have to take into consideration. Sometimes people are just that careless with it. And I know this is going to bring a whole world of comments crashing down on us.
Ooh, let's get letters.
But and that's where Lisa came in. She would have never thought that he would have picked that up. So.
It would not have occurred to her, and I mean, and that's totally fair, right? It also wouldn't have occurred to her that he'd pick up one of her photos and throw it on the floor either. I mean, like there was some random.
And actually, she never considered him like a child.
Right.
Well, yeah.
At the same time.
Because I mean, he's a warrior, right? I mean, she's seen him fight. Like that's
and he's a big thing, and he's
a grown up, but I mean, in reality, he really is a teenager.
He is.
So, she's never thought of it that way.
Yeah. What I enjoyed actually about Elisa's wounding is part of my brain thought. Well, I know. It's just that part of my brain. I'm speaking from a storyteller perspective and from a fan perspective.
Yeah.
Part of me thought, okay, well, she's going to be fine by the end of the episode, but I was not sure of that.
Right. You never had that certainty until the very end.
I used to watch a TV series starring Ron Perlman called Beauty and the Beast. This is like back in the 80s, like 89. Well,
before you were born, everyone.
Yeah. Well,
I was born.
I remember it. I loved it.
Yeah. It's a faint memory, guys.
Sorry.
Mom.
Now do his laundry. Why, my mom?
You are. Yeah, pull the
Like
clothes. There you go. Good,
Banana
next
or
one.
something back
Got a
there.
couple loads for you to wash.
That just happened.
It's a BBC video once again.
That's your mom all over.
Okay. For those of you not watching at home, my mother just crawled into my room on hands and knees to bring me an egg McMuffin for breakfast. Thanks, Mom. And then she crawled back out of the room and pulled the door shut.
I thought it was a kid. I didn't realize it was your mother. I thought some kid was coming in to bother you.
Oh, these are the moments that stay.
Oh, it actually happened. I'm so happy. And horrified. Okay then. But anyway, yes. So wow. So the idea that she might not survive. Oh, because in Beauty and the Beast, they had Catherine, like the love interest for 2 seasons. Then they killed her. They killed her and brought in another woman. Yeah. The 3rd season had a completely different actress. And so in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's not impossible that Elisa Maza could die in this episode.
Well, true, I guess. I mean, if
it would have been
ratings
strange
were
for
too
me.
high on her,
Yeah.
take
But it
her
was,
out.
but
Oh.
I did have that moment of like, this might not be okay. This might not be solved at the end of the episode.
Right.
She might actually die.
And she was actually wounded for, I think, a couple episodes after this.
Yeah, she
Like,
has,
it wasn't all
handles and
it wasn't
after
all
that.
taken care of for the next episode.
No,
Yeah,
no, she
which
didn't.
is really cool.
Yeah.
I really like.
Yeah, she was in physical therapy and she was on crutches for a while.
Yeah.
I'm sure in addition to many other things, they just never mentioned it on the show. But
And that's
Like
story
shrinks.
arc, right? Like, you can have episodic stories that are self-contained, but when you get that consistency going, when you have an arc relating to this episode, that episode, the other episode, it really makes it feel better, stronger, more real. I love that storytelling, and Greg is very good at that. I don't think Greg Wiseman ever forgets anything he puts into stories.
no.
I've been to the conventions where people are, asking him trivia questions about what was being thought of in this episode and what was being thought of. He has never once, to my knowledge, said, I don't remember that episode.
I've never seen him falter ever.
Yeah, all
Even
up
just
there.
on like YouTube videos, he always just seems to have it in his head.
Yeah.
In addition to the consistency, in a later episode, we see Elisa take her gun out of a drawer in a lock box, and she has the
Yes.
key. So they
Yes.
never have her make the same mistake twice. They never make a careless error with it.
Which is
So,
good, right? Because she's a sensible, smart person,
Yes.
And so you see her change, adapt, and evolve like a person would. Well, you'd hope like a person would, anyway.
Yep.
Some people do.
Well, that's true, and that's also a really neat character flaw in real people. Sometimes real people don't learn, so you can have a story where a person keeps making the same mistake, and that's also valid, right?
That is
True.
Damona's story.
That is Damona's
Isn't it,
story.
though? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Tell us about Damona, Mike.
We could have Damona forever. we'll stay in Deadly Force.
Oh, okay, all right.
All right. Well, I've written this 23-page essay about page 1.
Oh, I guess we can't deny you now.
Let's get Bishansky back on and ask him about Damona.
We're going to. He's coming back. He's coming back on the show. Yeah. So he will be back. Spoiler alert, no comment.
Once upon a time, there was a little red-headed gargoyle girl who was born in the Scottish projects of the Highlands. Then one day, a gargoyle modeling talent scout discovered her, and her modeling career took off. You better work. That's not her story?
That's not the show I remember.
There's no RuPaul, Ru Damona. Being on camera, and when you guys go silent after I've said some non sequitur BS, it's just like, now I'm intimidated.
It's like, what have I done?
I think the way waiting to see if it expands further so we don't interrupt your thought. Is what it is.
Gee.
And then we realize you're done and we laugh. So I've
Okay.
noticed that. Yeah.
Now we're just waiting to see what happens. How many more wheels can come off this?
We don't know when Michael will shut up. Quote, quote. There we go. I get it. I'm used to that. It's fair. That's fair.
Oh, let's
So,
see.
okay.
New the world of Gargoyles news.
So, getting back to what Mike was saying about how Broadway immediately just starts projecting and taking out his anger on everyone around him,
Yes.
and then Goliath, Dad, and then Dad comes home. Okay, that was totally the vibe for me.
Yeah.
When he has to confess to Goliath, the dad, what he's done. I mean, watching the thing, felt like the kid that had just broken a window with a baseball. Like, I am in trouble. You know, I am in so much
And
trouble.
you've run out of options to say, oh, it was this, or this. You have to
you've run out of
clean.
excuses.
Yeah.
You can't lie anymore, and you can't hide anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I really got the vibe that I think even Goliath says something like, "We will discuss this later," or something. But it was basically a "just you wait till I get you home."
You see that?
I was terrified.
Uh-huh.
I was more afraid of Goliath then than in any of his roaring, smashing, fighting. Like, he was
Running
more
up
scary
the stairs
in
after
those moments.
Dracon. Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's right.
And it really shows you that he is the clan leader, and that it's not just a title. Like, they see it, they feel it.
They feel it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was very impressive to me, because it was actually kind of understated. Like, Goliath doesn't yell.
No,
He doesn't,
he's very
you know,
quiet
freak out.
and posed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Broadway slumps. Like, he just sags. He's like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm going in
Yeah.
the rookery.
Yeah.
Well, it's like a dog, right? If they say they ripped open the garbage and you come home and they know that they've misbehaved, and then they look at you and they lower their head and their ears go back.
Who shot that cop? Did you shoot that cop?
Yeah.
You shot this cop.
She was my girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then Elisa, you know, she's so amazing. She forgives him,
Mhm.
you know, and which, you know, undoes Broadway even more, makes him dissolve even more, because they almost lost their angel. You know, she has been their best friend. She has been their companion, their everything, and she's not even mad.
No, and she even owns up to part of it. You know,
Yeah.
she actually takes some of that responsibility from him.
Yeah.
And
That
puts it
says
on
a lot.
herself. Yeah.
Yeah, because she was like, "It's my gun. I am responsible for it." In the same way that, you know, you should play with toys, I shouldn't leave something deadly out in the open.
Right.
The cat can get it.
Where the
Yeah.
cat can get it.
The cat.
Yeah.
And getting back to what we said, you know, about responsibility in the episode. She takes some, and an argument could be made that she didn't need to take any responsibility because
Right.
she lives alone and she doesn't have to think about those things.
Mhm.
But after it happens, she realizes that she should.
Mhm.
And that's kind of above and beyond awesome for
Mhm.
her as a character.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
It is.
Indeed.
Way to bring the discussion to a halt. Let's
Like,
pause
wow.
that for a while.
Just
Silently.
grinding everything. So anyway, Dracon's hair. Can we just talk about the 90s hair for a minute?
Yeah, let's do that.
Like
Why
Patrick
would-
Swayze's thing, like
Yeah,
very
yeah.
Patrick Swayze.
Totally Swayze.
He's
It's
got,
weird
like,
without the
silver
Alexander
white.
Cabot going on, though, hey?
Yeah, he's
What
like
was
surfer.
Hair white. I don't remember. Where did he get the white
I
stripe?
looked it up because I noticed it was missing, and
Yep.
Greg had said it's because that Broadway Goliath scared him so bad.
It turned
Full
white.
Cabot. Yeah.
Yep.
I
Turned
love
white.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you would like that.
I love
He
it.
went premature white.
Good. Good.
Yes.
It's like in the
I
Crash
have
Test
seen
Dummy
pictures.
song.
But he still did not shave off the monobrow or get it waxed
No.
or whatever he needs to
No.
do. Yeah.
No, like, how could he be Tony Caterpillar if he ain't got no caterpillar? They call me Tony Two Brows. Like, what? It's not a bad name either. To be honest, it's not a bad name.
It's not. It's really not. Not as
They call
catchy.
Tony Two Brows. Like, why? Are two brows significant?
Yeah, it should be both nostrils. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Oscar One Mouth. Yeah, you got to go talk to Oscar One Mouth. Like, why? It's all one mouth. Okay.
At least with glasses, it's simplistic. You know, glasses. Where's the glasses? That's it.
Right? Yeah.
He probably doesn't even need glasses. He probably got LASIK like 20 years ago, but he's got to wear the glasses.
That's actually a really valid point.
Yeah.
Like, this comes back from the old Dick Tracy days where, like, the villains literally looked like their name. Like, Prune Face literally had a pruny face, you know? And, like, I don't know all the Dick Tracy villains, but just, you could name someone. The Mole would, like, have a giant mole on his, you know, things like that.
Flat top. Like, if you're
Possibly a small
born with a
growing-
square head, you got to go into crime.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
My name is
blonde.
Ralph.
Chair face Chippendale. It's like, no, he literally has a chair for a face. That's fun to tick. That's a little more absurd, but yeah.
And so can we talk about the giant syringe?
Oh, the
Yes,
syringe.
that was the other thing we talked about.
The girth on that thing.
The enormous syringe.
Like a horse's
and
leg.
Was that
Yep.
adrenaline? Was that an adrenaline?
Epinephrine.
Oh, epinephrine.
Yep, epinephrine. And we were talking about that, how it was so huge. Even my husband, who doesn't, always watch the show with me consistently, was like, what is going on? Are they reviving an elephant? It was ridiculous. So,
Filling her up like a parade balloon.
right?
There.
And today on the Macy's Day Gargoyles Parade, Elisa Maza is floating above the sky. This is fabulous, Harry. I love the feathers. Yeah.
In this episode, I learned to be afraid of guns and hospitals.
Yes.
Yeah, needles. I have seen larger needles like that when they're pushing a sedative into someone because they didn't know how much sedative to push in. And by the way, it was being pushed into me at the time. But so I've seen big needles.
It was a Sunday.
But,
You know how
Okay,
well,
just a regular Sunday? Okay.
yeah, like I was bored and the coffee wasn't doing anything. So I'm like, push it real good. And now all the listeners are like, what is that guy's life? What is happening?
That's
But
going to
yeah,
be the
you're
main
right, though.
comment. It's going to be, what does Michael do in his free time?
There are syringes.
Links
But
in the
yeah,
show notes.
you forgive a lot in cartoons, right? Okay, it's just, that's cartoony, put that in quotes. Oh, it's just cartoony, like some of the guns, right? They're like big sort of rectangles of metal that shoot lasers, pew pew. Like, you don't think much about that.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. That was like a pause moment, like, look at the size of that syringe.
Yeah, because the laser gun and everything was just well, okay, I buy it. But when I saw this thing arrive, I was
Carell just
Winged
made
lizardmen, fine, but
made
that
a
needle.
backhanded motion. She was standing on a
If
shovel.
we ever get
trying
Greg
to push
Wiseman
it
on the show, we're going to ask him this. Like, why was it enormous? Maybe they just really panned in to the needle to show how important it was. I don't know,
That's right.
but
It was
Yeah.
dramatically large for
Super
dramatic
dramatic.
effect.
yeah, like you just had to have it. I don't know, on screen, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
to
know.
make a point, literally.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, he went there.
That
Hey-o.
happened, that thing. What else was there? Interestingly, this is way early in the episode and is a completely trivial point, but just an interesting observation. When Broadway goes to the movie theater, he sees all those big bags of popcorn lying there.
Yes.
Well, I used to work in a theater. Those bags are full of unpopped.
Yes.
Okay,
Kernels.
that was my next
Really?
question
How
was,
stale would that popcorn be?
would they have been popped? Would they have been pre-popped? Because no
No.
movie theater that I've ever been in just pulls out a bag of popcorn and is like, here you go, kids, that'll be $20. You
Dump it
know?
in the attic for a week. Enjoy.
So it was a funny thing because it went from being, a supply bag to go pour into the popper
Yeah.
to
Oh.
one of those old carnival bags that actually had finished popcorn in it, like it was a bag. So they fudged that a little bit, but at the end of the day, it was just important for Broadway to have a Broadway-sized bag of popcorn. So that's kind of adorable.
Yeah.
But yeah, if those were real theater bags, they would have been full
Kernels.
of
Yeah.
popcorn.
She's
Yeah.
been eating kernels.
Well, and that's it, right? Like, who knows what gargoyle diets could be? Like, maybe he's like, these are awesome, and just like literally eat them.
Fried
You know?
steak. Anything's possible.
I was just watching Troll Hunters on Netflix, which, by the way, if you like gargoyles, I really think you'll like Troll Hunters. And of course, the trolls in this show eat anything, like weird, gross stuff. They'll even eat like the tires off your car. Like, so their fantasy creature diet is basically inanimate objects, possibly children, And so I kind of hearken that to Broadway being able to maybe just eat anything he wants. He just happens to like human food.
It could
Maybe.
be. And in another regard, Greg Wiseman has said that the gargoyles technically don't need to eat, so I think it's just more of a hobby for him. Yeah,
He just can't control himself.
right. He can't. But then I look back at all the times where they were like, "What's for breakfast?" or what.
Yeah.
Try one of these. They're delicious. So I don't know. Maybe it's just something they don't need to eat, but they try.
The moms keep bringing the McMuffins, so what are they supposed to do?
Right? What are they supposed to do?
Power, but invent it.
I once asked Greg if gargoyles excrete, and he said, "Yeah,
Yeah, you did.
they do." And so I'm like, okay, I would have been okay if, because they shed their stone every night, right, when the sun goes down, and I'm like, okay, well that to me would sort of fulfill that biological function, whatever.
Right.
But now you're saying they don't need to eat, but then he also said they do excrete. So I guess it depends. Garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
I guess if they don't eat, they wouldn't, and if they do eat, then they do, because as the book says, everybody poops. And I've
That makes
derailed.
sense.
I'm sorry, but it was fascinating to me. So there we go.
Hold on, I might have a visual of that.
Of pooping.
No.
I've got some
the
fan art here.
No.
Is this Goliath pooping? He's flying at the time, so it's very awkward.
No. There
Oh
you
my
go.
God!
There you go.
Yay!
The apple.
Okay, hang on. Let's have a look at those 4 pictures. It's a his face, a horse's butt, an apple, and a duck. Okay.
Apples don't.
It's just random.
Why the apple?
What do these 4 things have in common? They all are the cycle of poop. The musical's coming soon. Masavenya, that's the circle of poop. I'm sorry.
It's an apple. You're pooping an apple. It's an apple. You're pooping an apple.
We got a whole orchard. We got a whole orchard. You're pooping an apple. Pooping an apple. Stop it. Stop it.
You stop it. You started it.
I know. I feel bad now. Lisa and Carell are like, why?
Why?
Oh.
I can't wait till Pashansky's back on this.
There'll be a dis-
Stay on topic.
The next time you say we want to catch up with Mike and Mike, you need to think twice.
No, I love it. The last time when we recorded the first podcast, I didn't know that you put the webcams on, so I didn't see you actually. So I followed the thing only in audio, so I didn't catch all the jokes and everything. And it's after that when I edited it, and when I listened to it after that I realized that you were on camera. So I was, why?
Did I just sound like an insane person then, where I was like laughing at Michael every 5 seconds. I'm
Well,
like,
we couldn't
"No,
see
live in
you."
Brooklyn." Yeah. So no, I know I didn't have my camera on. I usually don't because I have people running around, and usually it's a 3-year-old. So it's much easier to mute and turn and talk. So I don't usually keep my camera on. But
Well, also the technology has advanced now. Like I remember, like I kept on breaking the Skype because my computer just couldn't keep up.
I remember that. Yep.
And
it's
now
like we have like HD webcams and it's working fine. Yeah. That's weird.
Like,
yeah.
I told you that it would be 19.
Now it's gonna just combust.
Yes, indeed. I'm sending you guys some fun art. My comic Twilight Detective Agency, the 2nd issue is coming out soon.
Yay!
A few of the pages, they aren't lettered yet, but I do have a few preview pages that I can send you guys for funsies. Do you know the hardest part about that comic for me is gargoyle clothes?
Oh,
because
my
gargoyles were always, but they're not human. So what can they wear? The graphic I just sent to the Spotlight on Hawkstone is actually one of my favorite designs for Hawkstone because it looks like he's actually wearing a kind of a suit, except of course it's ripped so that he can fit into it. But if he were a 1920s gangster, this would be a whole suit for him, But I really liked the vest with like the little pocket square and stuff in it, which I assume you guys can show to your listeners later on.
Yep, we can. Carell is amazing. She can put it on like the rotational that we do. Yeah. So.
Yay!
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Excellent. And
she's awesome. I just do the talking. She does everything else. So.
It's all together. You know what that you just described the relationship between Mike and I. Creating stuff together. I just go, I have an idea. I'm gonna blather on about it. And what do you mean you finished it?
Yeah. Carol will be like, I might get this done, in a couple of weeks, and she'll have it done like 2 days later, and it's amazing. So.
Yeah. There's always got to be one.
Yep.
I just was down in San Diego visiting Gargoyles fans, Jen Anderson and Cindy Kennard Diamond. And Mike and I always joke that Cindy and Jen are like he and I. And so I'm visiting them, and I'm looking for signs of this, like are they really us in another life kind of thing. And Jen picks us up in her car, and she drives the exact same car I do.
They are you guys.
Yeah. So there's a lot of parallels here in Gargoyles fandom. I'm finding there's a lot of, archetypes, I guess.
Yeah, kind of. It seems,
Very spooky.
So, anything maybe to add to Deadly Force? Maybe we can wrap up.
I was gonna say, I think we don't have to do a synopsis. I like what we did. I think we covered the main points, right?
Yeah, pause this podcast, go watch it, come back.
Yeah.
There is an interesting thing about Dracon, actually, because as Mike pointed out, like he actually is innocent of the crime he's being accused of in this episode.
Yeah.
Like, sure, he's an arms dealer, but the thing is, he actually has a legitimate reason to be like, why are you coming after me? Like, I didn't do this. Of course, he has to be Mr. Bravado, right? So he has to be like, oh, did she get shot? Oh, well, too bad. However, he knows he didn't do it. So the way they come down on him, the way his operation is totally, destroyed and undermined. Well, not totally, because there's some guns still left on the streets. It actually gives him motivation to be that much more adversarial with Elisa Maza.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, even though it's just something that sort of happens to him out of the blue, it actually cements, in one respect, the enmity between him and the police force, but Elisa in particular.
But I'm wondering about that. Did Lisa stick with the story that Dracon shot her? I mean, she can't say that, oh no, my half-lizard friend did it. Like, is that what she tells people when she comes out of it?
I think she
all
truly
she can say
says
is,
she
"I don't
doesn't see
remember."
it. Yeah, she didn't see it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, she
I
was
don't know what
cooking
happened.
in the kitchen,
Yeah.
and then she got shot. That's literally the truth. She doesn't have to say the only person that could have done it is my gargoyle friend
Or my
All-
cat. Yeah.
All
She
she has
doesn't
to say is,
clear
I don't
Caterpillar
know.
Tony either, so
Yeah,
she is
I
kind
was
of
cooking in the
complicit in
kitchen. I
that.
got shot. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
there's
Bergman-
no evidence, you know, the fingerprints were too badly smudged. They didn't even look human. So
But that's interesting because it means gargoyles have fingerprints,
That's
which
right.
is interesting. Yeah. So you could actually have a gargoyles database. You know,
have 8 entries in it, but database.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. Well, there's 5 in New York.
Yeah.
Oh, there's gargoyle fingerprints. Okay, it's one of 5 guys.
Database.
And their dog. So
Yeah, oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. Does Bronx have fingerprints? I guess he has paw.
There's a question for Greg
I
that
guess-
has been asked.
Who do we need to ask?
Yeah. We'll write it down.
The others
Right.
do.
Dear Greg, does Bronx have fingerprints?
Because Broadway
Okay,
does.
I'm gonna do a visual. I'm gonna do a visual joke right now. When we were at Convergence a couple of years ago, we were introduced to this motion that Greg does when fans say crazy or stupid stuff, or whenever I speak. And he will grind the heel of his hand into his eyebrow, like he's trying to keep his eye from popping out from the stupidity. And so, if we ask that question, hey, does Bronx have fingerprints? I can see it. I can see the heel grinding into the head. I see that happening.
Maybe he'll just write spoiler alert, no comment.
Oh, that's right.
on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Before you came back, I was telling the girls to get Greg on the show, and they were like, we need questions that no one's ever asked before, so we have to
We
think of
just need to
questions for
consult
Greg
Mike
that
and
no one has
Michael,
ever
and
asked
we'll have a
before.
whole list. Yeah.
I think if you told Greg I was going to be on the show or had anything to do with your question list, he'd be like, I'm very busy that week. Sorry, I can't.
And I'm busy that week, and that week, and that week.
See you never. Yeah, all the weeks. He told
Seriously,
me to
have
get
him on the
off
show.
the stage at Convergence. He told me to get off the stage.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
remember that.
I
Yeah.
do too. So you put
So good.
was it Pinkie Pie?
Pinkie
Yeah,
Pie.
Pinkie
Somebody
Pie
had
had
a
you sit down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah. Someone had a Pinkie Pie plush, and so I put it in front of the microphone, and then I took a second microphone and hid under the table, and I started to do a Pinkie Pie voice, and by that I don't mean the voice from the show. I mean like, my name is Pinkie. Pinkie the Pie. Okay?
Pinkie Pie.
And Greg had it. The poor guy, I don't know what his day was like up to that point, but you could tell that was it. He was like, Michael, get off the stage! And
Yeah,
I'm
he's like, get off the stage.
That was my name. However, there are a couple of people in fandom to this day that refer to me as Pinkie Pie.
Because of that day.
I think I should from now on.
I'm going to stick with
code
Caterpillar Tony.
Pinkie Pie, Michael. I've decided that Riverdale's street name will be Riverdale Pretty Pants.
I thought that was his full name.
It is actually. It's just it's from the original Greek gargoyle meaning
I
pretty
got it.
pants.
Gotcha. Well, I am being told I need to help with Bennett because my husband is not doing it. So
Shameful.
So are we giving the answers to the trivia? Do you want me to put it on
Yes.
Lightning Panther.
or Black Panther?
Is that
That's
code?
one.
The answer to many questions.
It's Lightning Panther.
Lightning Panther all the way.
Yeah,
All right.
I like it.
So all right. Well, I hope you had as much fun as we did today. love having the mics back on our show. We hope to get them back. Yes, we
Yeah.
really do want to lose the wheels again. Yay!
Yay! Go Wheels!
But before we go, we do want to give the answers to those trivia questions.
Yes.
To begin with, the names of the Maza family. As much as we like Lightning Panther, we'll keep that fondly for one of them. We have Peter, Diane, Elisa, Derek, and Beth. Beth is the sister who doesn't have a name in this episode, but you do meet the rest of the family. And then, in addition to the other question, we have Dr. Sato. His name, canon in training, is Dr. J. Sato. And that's revealed at a convention. So it's never going to appear in the show at, up to what we've seen. Or in the comics.
Jay.
If you got that
Hey.
wrong, you're a bad Gargoyles fan.
Sorry, we all talked over each other there. What were you saying, Mike?
If you didn't get those answers right, you are a Garg poster.
Go
Say
for
hi.
some.
Okay.
Original GI track.
Okay.
Let's show.
All right. So I'm going to sign off. Thank you for coming on the show again, you guys.
It's always a pleasure. You guys are so much fun.